This meeting of the Rolling Meadows City Council is hereby called to order. Would everyone please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will please call the roll.
Cannon?
Here.
Prina?
Here.
Majikis? Here. Judd?
Here.
Banjer?
Here.
Diastis?
Present.
Veenbos?
Here.
7 present and none absent. There is a quorum present this evening. Therefore, members of the audience are reminded that these proceedings are being videotaped for current and future broadcast over the city's cable television channel. The first item on the agenda this evening is a motion to approve the minutes of the November 10th City Council meeting. Is there such a motion? Mr. Banjer has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, the question is, shall the minutes be adopted? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Under the mayor's report this evening, I have one item that, I don't know, it's not really an overstatement to say I'm thrilled to make tonight, because as many of the people up here on the council know, working toward what is called transparency has been something that I've been on the bandwagon for since I got elected, and it's not as easy as it seems. I think that's attested to by the fact that in Illinois, we're a little local government happy. We have literally way more cities and library districts and park districts and school districts and metropolitan water reclamation districts and all that other kind of stuff. No other state in the union is as local government crazy as we are. So we have almost 7,000 units of local government, and in the category of transparency, as is judged by the Illinois Policy Institute in their Sunshine Award, only 74 of every kind of district you can imagine in Illinois has achieved an 80% or higher rating for transparency, meaning simply putting information into the public's hands via your website and other digital sources and everything else that goes along with it. There's almost 7,000, and there are 74 in the entire state who have gotten the Sunshine Award, which is 80% or up. And I am very happy. We actually got it about 3 weeks ago, but it finally came to be able to hold up the Local Transparency Award. And you might notice a designation if your eyesight is way better than most, because it says 100%. 74 have achieved 80% or better. We're only the 9th in the entire state of Illinois to hit a 100% score. 9 out of the entire state. I think that's fantastic. And so therefore, Mr. Justin Chiappetta, who's the head of the IT department, who's kind of been the person that I keep poking and saying, okay, what about this? And okay, what about that? I know John Quandras and Kelly Vlieger have had to do a lot of the grunt work in terms of loading all this stuff and making sure it's searchable and so forth and so on. And the gentle lady seated next to me as well, who's kind of been in charge of the documents all the way along as our deputy city clerk. They have been very patient and at least not visibly annoyed by my pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And they've done a lot of work to make this possible. And so the congratulations goes to our staff for making this happen. We not only achieved a Sunshine Award from the Illinois Policy Institute's Transparency Project, we got 100%. And I couldn't be more pleased to make that announcement. That way it's going to be my article in the next newsletter too, because I'm that excited about it. That's the mayor's report for, well, actually it's not. I want to point out one more thing. I've said it's hard. When I took this chair, we already had a score from the Illinois Policy Institute. It was 21. And I said, I can't believe it's that low. Would you please review it for us? Because I got to know how much work we have to do. And they reviewed it for us, and they said, you're right, it was wrong, you have a 26. So we did a number of things back with the old website. We put together a bunch of different things to try to make this happen, and we got up into the 50s. And quite frankly, the website, the way it was, just couldn't handle a lot of the stuff, searchable things and so forth and so on. So I feel that's important to point out as well, that when we started this process a little over 4 years ago, we were in the 20s, and we are now at a perfect 100%. So for all the other districts out there who say, oh, it's difficult, it's detail-oriented, we don't have the time, we don't have the manpower, yeah, you do, if we can go from 20 to 100. So that's the mayor's report for this evening. Are there ward reports? Ms. Majikis of the 3rd Ward.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, and I did reach out to Public Works already about this, but Fred, if you could also relay it again to the guys, great job on Saturday for an unexpected accumulation of snow. I know we're short a couple guys, retirements and things like that, but you guys did an outstanding job. In fact, I had a limb come down in my own cul-de-sac, and the chipper guys were out there on Sunday morning and cleared that puppy up, and it was awesome. I had a couple residents call and say, great job. So I just wanted to relay that. Thank you.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, and we'll pass that on.
Further ward reports this evening? Then, seeing none, the council meeting is now open to members of the audience for up to 20 minutes to address the city council on matters that are on the agenda or regarding other issues. We ask that persons wishing to address the city council keep their comments to 5 minutes in length. Comments must be addressed to the council as a whole through the mayor, and profanity may not be used in any form. The first person on the sign-in sheet this evening is Mr. Walter Hainsfurther. I hope I pronounced your name relatively correctly, sir.
You did an excellent job, Mayor.
All right. Then the microphone
I
is
just
yours,
wanted
sir.
to introduce myself. My name is Walter Hainsfurther. I'm the architect for Bulldog Ale House, which is going into the old Chili's location at 1480 Gulf Road. It's an item on the agenda for approval later this evening, and I just wanted to let you know that I'm here to answer any questions that the council may have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your presence. That is item J, so if the council feels that necessary at that time, we can certainly open the floor. The second person on the list, I'm really sorry, I can't take a guess. I'm sorry, sir.
It's not easy. Glenn Chudikoff.
Okay, thank you.
I'm real estate director of Richards Building Supply out of Homer Glen. We are acquiring the property that was formerly Methode at 4001 Industrial, and I'm here to answer any questions that you may have in regard to our ordinance request I.
Fair enough. Thank you, sir, for your presence. If that becomes necessary under item I, we can certainly open the floor. Those are the only two people who were on the sign-in sheet this evening. Therefore, the council can proceed with its regular order of business, starting with item A. Now, as folks might take a look at the agenda for this evening, it is unusual, but it is an annual occurrence to have a couple of resolutions come at the top of the agenda. That's always on this night out of the year. Resolutions are usually done after ordinances, but state law does require that some of the tax levy, well, specifically the tax levies and other taxes that we're passing this evening, require that a budget be in place that supports the levy before the levy can be passed. And so it is a bit unusual, but it is the standard procedure of this council once a year to push the budgets to the top of the agenda, then to deal with ordinances, and then go back to deal with the other resolutions. Therefore, Resolution A would accept the 2016 library budget. Is there a motion to accept the library's budget for 2016? Mr. Banger, as the library liaison, has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the library budget? Seeing none, the question is, shall the library budget be approved? The clerk will please call the roll.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the library's 2016 budget is approved. Item B is similar. It is to approve the city's 2016 budget. Is there a motion to approve the city budget?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Are there any? Is there any discussion on the library budget?
City budget.
Excuse me, on the city budget. What I meant to say. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Then the question is, shall the library's, why do I keep saying that? Shall the city's budget as drafted be approved? The clerk will please call the roll.
Majekis?
Yes.
Judd?
No.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diastis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
No.
Prina?
Yes.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, the budget is approved for the city. I got it right that time. That brings the council to the second readings for ordinances, which would usually have been first on the agenda. The first one is item C. This ordinance, if adopted, would amend the personnel rules and regulations, specifically in section 14.8, regarding vacation accrual limits and a method to transition to the new limits. Is there a motion to approve this ordinance? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going over our past meetings over the last couple of years. Can you help me with this? A couple of years ago, didn't we start putting some money aside for unfunded liabilities?
That is correct.
I apologize for not asking this ahead of time,
Sorry.
but would Barry or anybody else know how much money is in there?
Well, we started by transferring the old TOD fund to the tune
Right.
of $400,000. I believe last year's contribution to that effort was $100,000, and I believe this year's contribution is $200,000. Are those numbers correct?
That's correct.
Mr. Cannon, is that a sufficient answer to that
That's a wonderful
question?
answer. So I guess the question I would ask you, Mr. Mayor, wouldn't it be a logical thing for us to take money out of that fund for this specific problem? Because that's what it was there for, right?
That's certainly something that could be done. I don't know that it's the only option, simply because we know the amount of money that's there is not yet enough to cover. So somebody could say that should be drawn down because these are those expenses, but somebody could say it should be made whole before we start drawing it down, and I could see either way, but that is certainly an acceptable way to handle it.
I mean, because that would be a way that we wouldn't have to really tax the taxpayers anymore, in the sense that we have to take more money out, since we have money set aside in a way for this area anyhow. They're not specifically for this, but I mean for these type of situations.
Well, correct. That would be a reasonable approach, yes.
Okay. So I guess I would like to make an amendment that we do that as opposed to doing the 5-year program.
Well, I think you're going to have to give me a second then to check. Is there any reference to funds will be paid from a particular account?
No, not necessarily.
Then I think that would really have to come under direction to the staff as opposed to an amendment to this ordinance, which we certainly could take up at the Committee of the Whole in December perhaps, and see if there's a straw poll to do so. But I think allowing a little bit of further discussion as to the multiple reasonable options is probably the better way to go. Would that be satisfactory?
Sure.
Okay. Then, Mr. Crumstock, would you please make a note of that there's a request for an item for the next available Committee of the Whole? I hope it would be December, because we're actually not doing budget after tonight, so that might make an opening for it. Mr. Cannon, is that satisfactory for your comments?
Well, would we still vote on this amendment as the way, or this ordinance as the way it's set up then?
That is correct.
Okay. All right, well, if that's the only way we can do it, I guess I don't really have much choice.
Well, correct. Correct. It is a second reading. I think if there was a way to put it into the ordinance, we simply just need more time than this. And so I feel in the same position. I think that's the way we have to go.
Okay.
Is there further discussion of the ordinance? Mr. Diastis.
Did we discuss the possibility of having individuals use this at any point in time? I know there was a 3-year thing and there was a 5-year thing, and then we said, could we freeze the money? I'm not sure if we ever, that's why it was postponed.
Well, the postponing was to be able to generate information that was asked for, that Mr. Crumstock distributed, what was it, yesterday evening?
Last night.
Under cover of a letter. The proposal as it now stands says that through a 5-year process, everybody would have to meet certain benchmarks of being down to certain levels. 2 years to get down to double the annual allotment, 2 more years to get to 1.5, and then in that 5th year, they'd have to get down to 1. If somebody chose to personally expedite that, they certainly have that option. But the ordinance as it's written says nobody can draw it down slower than those benchmarks. Is that an answer to your question, or is it not?
I
Mr.
think
Krumstad.
that, I think Alderman Diastis is mentioning how he wanted a grandfather. If I remember correctly, the discussion last time is that it was grandfathering what individuals have at this point in time. They couldn't do any more, but would leave them at their rates. If I remember, that's
part of it. And unfortunately, I didn't see the email that went out last night, so I'm a little bit at a loss there, but.
Fair enough. Well, there's not a reason why the dollar amount that was being searched for still has to be estimated based on number of employees, but the 5-year cost that was asked as information last time around is somewhere in the neighborhood of $175,000 to $190,000. And that's the 5-year cost, where to leave it as the ordinance is written would mean over those 5 years, we don't know what increments would be taken out each year because it would depend on personnel's individual choices. But at the end of the 5 years, that would be the ballpark figure of the cost. So it would be nice to be able to say this will cost $40,000 in year 1 and $50,000 in year 2, but we just don't know. We know that over the course of the 5 years, that should be the total. Mm-hmm. Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Okay. The floor is still yours if you wish.
Well, again, I didn't see the email.
Okay.
Because I don't check my emails every single day for every single thing. So I apologize. I didn't have that information. So I guess the other question was, did we talk about, like Barry said, could we just freeze this so people couldn't get any more, but they didn't have to take it over the next 5 years? They could take it at whenever. And that was
Well, that's not the way the ordinance is currently written.
I know,
Am
but
correct?
that was one of the questions
Yes, sir.
we had, was that a possibility? So instead of forcing people to take it over 5 years, was there a possibility that they couldn't accrue anymore, and the money that they had accrued would be frozen at current levels, and they could use it at any point in time between now and whenever?
Mr. Krumstad.
the answer is yes. We could keep a spreadsheet on that. Our system's not smart enough, but we could keep a spreadsheet on that.
So in other words, the actual payroll distribution software doesn't allow for that, but we could do it in-house.
That is correct.
Okay.
So then the 175 to 190 would still remain, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be spread over 5. It could be spread over any amount of time.
It could. Again, as long as it's faster than the pace listed by the ordinance and not slower.
Correct.
Okay.
So, because I know a couple of other alder people had some concerns about the 3 and the 5. So now there's an opening if someone wanted to make an amendment to extend it for a further length of time, be it 10 or 15 or 20 or whatever.
Whatever, and that
It
would
is
go.
certainly possible.
Yeah.
Okay. And if not, it'll cost the city somewhere between 175 and 190,000 over the next 5 years.
That is correct. Is that satisfactory?
That answers all my questions.
Thank you. Further discussion. Mr. Cannon again.
But Mr. Mayor, isn't it true that 175 to 190 can also grow by employee pay raises?
Well, technically, yes, meaning whatever the spirit of the council's motion says paid out at the rate that it's earned, and if somebody has overlapping and moving forward, that would be correct.
Okay.
Now, again, we're talking the tune of, based on past practice, an average of 1% a year. So I don't know that it's going to change the dollar amount significantly, but you are correct that can grow a little over, depending on the pace at which people take it out.
So it could be potentially close to another 10 grand.
It could be, certainly.
And
That is correct.
And when we first started talking about this, we were talking about $300,000 was the guesstimate at that time. Now
Correct.
it's under 200. I really don't understand why we would want to go to 5, why we just can't get it done in 3 the way we originally talked about.
So I guess I would make an amendment to move it back to 3, to what we originally talked about, because the number is dramatically lower than what we guesstimated to begin with. And we put Barry on the spot when we first come up with that number. Then after we investigated it, now it's at least 110,000 less than what it was, at minimum, maybe more. And then plus by doing that, we have lesser in raises for whatever. Even if it's only 1,000 or 2,000 a year, it's still going to go up every year. They got to come out of the taxpayer's pocket one way or another. So it's my contention, this is actually saving us money in the long run.
It is a proper motion to amend and go back to the 3-year that was originally contemplated. Is there a second to the amendment? It has been seconded. Therefore, debate is open on the amendment only. Mr. Cannon, shall we consider those comments, opening comments on the
I
amendment?
think I probably said too much already.
That's all right. That's all right, as long as the motion's on the floor now. Is there further discussion of the amendment only to reduce the transition period from 5 years to 3 years? Mr. Judd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of the fact, what Alderman Cannon brought up about the fact that monies could potentially be used from the uncompensated absences fund, essentially this won't really cause a problem for the budget. If we have the money in the budget, we can spend it. If we don't have the money in the budget, we can take it out of the uncompensated absences fund. So I would support that. Thank you.
And again, that option is available if the council so chooses at the next committee of the whole. That is correct. Further discussion of the amendment only. Mr. Prana.
Excuse me. I would like to see it left at 5 because I think it works out for the residents and also works out for the employees. And there has sort of been a rush to judgment to do the things that we have done. And I just would like to see it left at 5. Thank you.
Further discussion of the amendment only. Then I think before asking for a vote, I think it would be prudent just to clarify, I think it's my assumption, I think it's Mr. Cannon's assumption, but Mr. Cannon, the original proposal for 3 years said in year 1, get down to double the allotment, in year 2, 1.5, and then in the 3rd year, they'd have to be down to 1. So an amendment to return it to that would be using those numbers and that time schedule.
Yes, sir.
Then we're on the same page.
Thank you.
Then the question remains, shall the ordinance be amended to reduce the transition period from 5 years to 3 years? The chair believes it is in the interest of the council to ask the clerk to call the roll.
Judd?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
Diestis?
No.
Veenbos?
No.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
No.
Majikis?
No.
With 3 in favor and none opposed, this amendment fails, and the council returns to debate on the ordinance as it stands. Is there further discussion on the ordinance? Seeing no further discussion on the ordinance, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Baner?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
No.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
With 6 in favor and 1 opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. The next item is item D. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve the tax levy for the library. Is there a motion to approve the tax levy for the library? Mr. Banger, as the library liaison, has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the library's levy? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Baner?
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed, the library's levy is approved. Let's see if I can get through item E without referring to it as the library. Item E is the tax levy for the city. This ordinance, if adopted, would increase the city's levy for 2016 by 4.9%, an amount which almost matches the additional contributions required to the pension payments by the actuaries who work for the city. Is there a motion to adopt the tax levy for 2016 for the city? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Under discussion, I guess I would say I would like to thank the council for kind of helping withstand some of the pressures, both budgetary and otherwise, in keeping this as low as can actuarially be required. I know that there are budgetary pressures, and I know that there have even been voices that have asked that it be higher. But I believe that this is a prudent amount that fulfills the city's responsibilities. It's actually a tiny bit lower due to a small maneuver we made with savings from debt payments. And so it's in essence keeping the increase to only what's needed for pension payments. I believe that's sufficient for this year, and I think it's the best way to go. Is there further discussion of the city's property tax levy? Then seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
No.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
No.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. Item F is also in for second reading. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve various increases to building permit fees. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made the motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. Item G is a sister ordinance that would approve an increase to the rental dwelling license fees as well. Is there a motion to adopt item G? Mr. Veenbos has made the motion and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Diastis.
Just once again, how do these fees compare to fees in neighboring communities? I mean, I know there's a chart down here, but not everybody can see the chart. So how can we, Mr. Krumstock, could you just,
A summary, perhaps?
Yeah, thank you. That's the word.
Mr. Krumstock.
We're debating over here.
Ms. Gallagher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Between the Community Development Department and Finance Department, we completed a brief survey, and within that survey, the fees that we are establishing at this point in time with the ordinance, that they would be in the median in terms of other municipal comparables. So some are a little bit higher than ours, as you can tell from the survey data. But at this point in time, we feel comfortable with these fees, the way they are established in the ordinance.
Mr. Diastis.
That's fine.
Further discussion of the ordinance? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
No.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
No.
With 5 in favor and 2 opposed, this ordinance is hereby declared passed. The final ordinance in for second reading is Ordinance H. This ordinance, if adopted, would approve an application for a Class B liquor license for the Armanetti's Liquor Store located at 4001 Algonquin Road. Class B liquor license is the standard license for a liquor store in Rolling Meadows. Is there a motion to adopt this ordinance?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Diastis has made the motion. Is there a second? It has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the item? Seeing none, the question is, shall the ordinance be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, this ordinance is hereby adopted. That concludes all of the items that are in for second reading this evening. Under items that are in for first reading, there are 5. They are items I through M. Would any alderman like any of those items removed from the consent agenda for ordinances? Mr. Cannon.
Let's see, just hold on here a second, I'm sorry.
Certainly.
No, I'm sorry, I don't need to take any off, but sorry.
Okay. Any alderman like any items removed from the consent agenda for ordinances? Then seeing none, the chair asks unanimous consent to consider all 5 ordinances for first reading in one motion. Is there any objection to doing so? Seeing none, the chair declares it in order for one motion to approve all 5 ordinances on their first reading. Is there such a motion? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. The question is, shall all 5 ordinances be moved forward for second reading? Item I would approve a special use permit for permanent outdoor storage at 4001 Industrial Road. Item J would amend the plan developments and approve a special use permit and variances to allow outdoor seating at 1480 Gulf Road. Those are the 2 ordinances for which the gentlemen who came forward are here this evening. Item K would amend a sign appeal for 3245 Kirchhoff Road, the Lexington development at the old bowling alley. Item L would authorize the termination of special service area number 1. And item N would amend Chapter 38 of the City Code. The question is, shall all 5 of these ordinances be moved forward for second reading? The clerk will please call the roll.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, all 5 of those ordinances shall be moved forward for second reading. That brings the council to the warrant, the document that releases all of the funds for the obligations of the city that were incurred from November 4th through the 17th. The amount for approval is more than $1.4 million, less than half of which is related to the payroll. Is there a motion to approve the warrant as prepared by the Finance Department? Ms. Majikis has made the motion, and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion of the warrant? Seeing none, the question is, shall the warrant be approved? The clerk will please call the roll.
Biancher?
Yes.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
With 7 in favor and none opposed, the warrant is approved. Moving the council finally to the consent agenda for resolutions. There are also 5 items on this consent agenda. They are O through S. Would any alderman like any of these items removed from the consent agenda? Mr. Cannon.
R.
Item R is removed. Are there further items to be removed from the consent agenda? Then seeing none, the chair asks unanimous consent to consider items O, P, Q, and S together in one motion. Is there such a motion?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Having heard that there's no objection, the chair declares it in order. Mr. Diastis has made the motion. Is there a second? It has been seconded. The question is, shall these 4 resolutions be adopted? Item O would award a contract for city audit services. Item P would approve the purchase of a new large format printer copier scanner for the Community Development Department and all the various plan reviews and everything else that they have to do on a very large scale. Item Q would accept the annual tobacco grant that goes to the TIP committee, or the work of the TIP committee. It doesn't go to them. And finally, item S would approve a lease for the city engineer to keep their office space at 3900 Birdnick Street, the Public Works building. Again, the question is, shall all 4 resolutions be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Diestis?
Yes.
Veenbos?
Yes.
Cannon?
Yes.
Prina?
Yes.
Majikis?
Yes.
Judd?
Yes.
Biancher?
Yes.
7 in favor and none opposed. All 4 of those resolutions are adopted. The council then returns to item R. This resolution, if adopted, would approve the contract with the city engineer. Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Prana has made the motion, and Mr. Diastis has seconded. Mr. Cannon, you asked that this item be pulled. You're entitled to first comment, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As most of you here might remember, on a number of occasions I voiced concerns about the cost of our engineering. My complaint about this is not about the employees from Burke that they provide us. I think they do a wonderful job. My only concern is the cost that we're being charged. Next year, we're actually going to have a price increase again. This year, even though the cost of our construction went up 25 to 35%, the cost of our engineering went up in a like manner. I guess I compare it a lot like when you go to the grocery store now, and when you go to buy, your spouse tells you to go get a half gallon of orange juice. Well, it's not a half gallon anymore. It's only 59 ounces. Or they tell you to get a half gallon of ice cream, and it's only a pint and a half. I think that's the way it is kind of with our engineering now. We know we got a top-rate engineering company. We have not gone out, to my knowledge, and solicited other engineers to see what they may offer us or not. So that concerns me a lot. So that's part of the reason why I won't be voting for it. The other thing that was a very big irritant to me personally, and obviously it didn't bother anybody else, but I'll express my opinion. Fairfax Village streets were done this year. Last year at this time, we thought we set up everything for the street program to be done early and time and hopefully at a lesser cost. Between our Public Works Department and Burke Engineering, they decided to use a different way of building that street. To this day, no one's ever come to us with a report explaining to us why we were late and why there was a new construction program or process taking place in there. I don't have a problem with the outcome, but I find it rather incredible that we were late with our program, so late that we were actually just getting our bids out, and Palatine had already finished their program. And last year, we took proactive steps to prevent that from happening. We never got an explanation from anybody. No one ever came in front of us from Burke or from our department explaining why that happened. And I don't think it was fair to the taxpayers or to us as a council. So again, this is not against the Burke people per se. It's against the organization and the prices they charge in general. Thank you.
The chair is a little bit surprised at the comments, as we had a committee of the whole item last week where representatives from Burke were here and sat through a lengthy committee of the whole meeting at which there was no discussion, and none of these comments were expressed at that time. However, the gentleman's comments are in order whatever night he chooses to express them, and so those comments are taken that way. Further discussion? Seeing no further discussion of the resolution, the question is, shall the resolution be adopted? The clerk will please call the roll.
Veenbos,
Yes.
Cannon,
No.
Prina,
Yes.
Majikis.
Yes.
Judd,
No.
Baner.
Yes.
Diastis.
Yes.
5 in favor and 2 opposed. The resolution is adopted. Under other business and reports, the chair has no appointments nor proclamations. Does the city clerk have a report?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Then under city staff reports, community items of interest, Mr. Crumpstock, that's usually yours.
I have a long one plus some additions. 'Tis the season. Obviously, the first one that I want to remind people, as the snow starts to melt, the leaves will be out again. So please do not push your leaves into the street or down our sewers. It would be greatly appreciated. Even with the snow, that was a nice test that we had. Residents, please remember, please do not push your snow into the street because it does create problems. And after we've been down your street, it becomes that black ice area. The week of November 23rd is the final week of yard waste collection. So yard waste will be done until Saturday, November 28th. So again, please have those out in proper fashion. City Hall and Public Works will be closed on Thursday, November 26th and Friday, November 27th in observance of the Thanksgiving holiday. Refuse collection will be delayed, so Thursday routes will be collected on Friday, Friday routes will be collected on Saturday. Obviously, the city has partnered with the United States Marine Corps Reserve to collect toys and for children in need through the Marines Toy for Tot program. It does continue here at City Hall and at the library until Monday, December 7th. So if you could bring a new unwrapped toy, that would be greatly appreciated. And obviously, this will be our last meeting before we have our annual tree lighting. We do want to mention that the annual tree lighting event is scheduled on Thursday, December 3rd. It starts at 6 p.m. Then Santa will make his appearance just a little bit before that so we can actually have those things. And it happens on the McDonald's area on 3140 Kirchhoff Road, about 6:20-ish. I'm using the ishes again. It depends on when we finish. We will be having a fireworks launched over, obviously, that jewel. You can see it from the McDonald's. You can see it from Fire Station 15. And then to round up the end of the 60th anniversary, we will be having a spaghetti dinner as supplies last at the fire station. And that's about starting at 6:30. But I would also tell people that starting around 6:30 with the dinner out there, we will have Santa and some reindeers actually in the volleyball section out there too. So again, come out. We will have some other events out that time. It's always a nice event. We've done it in snow, rain, hail, everything. But Santa will be here. The other reminder is the City Swank and Elgin Recycling are conducting the Holiday Light Extension Cord and Wire recycling program again. Collection boxes are here at City Hall. And again, this program goes until February 12th of 2016. The other thing that we do want to remind people is on December 7th, the Rolling Meadows Police Department, Cook County Sheriff's Police Department, and the Rolling Meadows Park District will be conducting a lunch and learn workshop. It's called Money Smart, How to Protect Yourself from Holiday Scams. This is a free lunch and event. It is held at the Community Center at 3705 Pheasant Drive. It's around from 11:30 to 1:30. Because it's the last meeting of December, we do, or last meeting of November, we do mention the December committee meetings coming up. For economic development, we will have a Tuesday, December 1st meeting at 6 p.m. Items scheduled at this point is the economic development consultant discussion, business update, other items of interest, and the Chamber of Commerce. For the Plan Commission, also on Tuesday, December 1st at 7:30 here at the council chambers, we have two issues that it will be conducting hearings on. A sign-up appeal for Motel 6 at 1800 Winnetka Circle, and an amendment to the plan development to construct a second parking garage at 2850 Gulf Road. There will not be a zoning board meeting in December, but I do have just a few additional items just to mention. Obviously, this Saturday is Small Business Saturday, November 28th, so if you could make an effort to shop locally, that's greatly appreciated. And then the other thing is for two items for December, just they didn't make it into items of interest. They're still being worked on a little bit, but you will see it in the December 8th, is that the police department will be doing their social media decoration of house event again. There will be more about that on December 8th. And the final one is that the Rolling Meadows Fire Department has joined with the Heart of the Marine Foundation to organize a winter clothing drive. And we'll have more about that, but it's hats, gloves, and those kind of items. And if you have any of that, that would be the drop-off at the fire stations. And it does start December 1st. We'll have more coming out. And obviously, we wish everybody a happy and healthy Thanksgiving holiday.
Then the next item under staff reports is the new business report. There's a number there, Mr. Crumstock.
There's just 6 of them, none that I would actually highlight at this point in time, but welcome to the committee.
Then third on this list is the staff traffic advisory report. Mr. Vogt.
Thank you, Mayor. The November meeting was held last week. A couple of things to note for council. The Kirchhoff-Oriole intersection continues to be looked at. Police will collect counts regarding school children based on some complaint with regards to the visibility, which I probably noted at an earlier meeting. We did do restriping earlier, but this committee will continue to look at that and see if there's any way to improve the situation there. Second item, Fairfax Avenue, just for your information, some temporary parking has been established on the street there for the Grove Apartments to make some improvements to their parking lot, and we expect that'll take a few months at this point, but just for your information, and police will monitor the use of that and has issued vehicle window permits for that. Third, we received a complaint about vehicle speeds, buses traveling on Oak Lane. Just note that the high school has not yet begun use of the bus lane, but the police department will further investigate, monitor that. We've notified the high school with regards to the complaint regarding their school buses. Fourth and lastly, 1200 Hicks Road, the proposed use of the property by the Islamic Society. We did receive a traffic study report, which police, engineering, and public works will review and discuss at our next meeting, which is scheduled for December 2nd. So that's our report.
Mr. Prana.
Just one side note regarding Oak Lane, and I'm sure the chief probably got the same memo today, is that they'll be opening up that bus lane on November 30th, which will be the Monday.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you for that piece of information. Then with nothing else on the staff traffic advisory report, item number 4 did not impact the discussion on the city budget. Therefore, I believe we can pass over it and go to the purchase order disclosures over $2,500. Ms. Gallagher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are 2 purchase orders for review by City Council. Nothing further to note.
Then that concludes the items under other business and reports. Are there matters not on the agenda before the council this evening? Mrs. Majikis.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to bring something up. I'm sure I'm not the only one on the council that has received this or gotten it throughout their terms. I've been on the council now almost 3 years. And while I appreciate residents reaching out to me, and I want them to continue to do that for good, for bad, need assistance and things, it's hard for me to help someone if they choose to correspond anonymously. I've been receiving mail with articles circled and little snide comments. So I'm just putting it out there that if someone would like to talk to me or has an issue, to please give me a call, and I'd like to talk about it, and hopefully we can come to a resolution. Thank you.
Just considering those comments, if it's something you feel you would want to take advantage of, I experienced the same thing fairly early on, and so created a new policy. If an envelope comes with nothing on the outside, I check and see if there's a signature, and if there's not, I throw it away without even reading, considering, or anything else. Anything that's anonymous, I don't even trouble with. So if that's something that might be considered, that's my own personal policy. Anybody sending anything anonymously isn't reaching me at all.
I think that's a good policy. Thank you.
Other matters not on the agenda. Mr. Diastis.
Yes. For next Thursday, I think Santa's going to be there, reindeer, and I think he's going to have elves there too.
We're still working on the elves because I can't get the suit yet.
Other matters not on the agenda this evening. Mr. Prana.
I agree with Alderman Majakis' comments because we've had that happen. I'm just signaling, excuse me, that with all these changes that we're going to have with personnel and contracts, that somewhere committee, the whole meeting in the spring, bring up that maybe we should be looking at hiring a full-time human resource manager or an assistant to the city manager, because we're now going to have 8 levels of employees. So just signaling that's going to be a committee of the whole discussion. Okay.
Signaling is always appreciated, and that would be a perfectly legitimate request. Other matters not on the agenda this evening. Then, knowing that the entire city council, as well as the entire city staff, wishes the entire city of Rolling Meadows a very happy, healthy, and blessed Thanksgiving, is there a motion to adjourn? Mr. Banger has made the motion, and it has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it, and we stand adjourned.
Mine likes to just do circle.